Okay. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's been about almost 3 weeks since I recorded last, and I'm going to share with you what happened. I made a video, and it was called Rest Well. Just talking about how to rest, because we get so busy and we're taught in this culture to grind, hustle, all that stuff, and we just forget to rest, and not just resting physically but just resting in the Lord. For whatever you're going through, just learning to rest. There's a time to contend, there's a time to pray, fast, and everything, and then it's just a time to rest. So that's what my video was about, that I recorded almost 3 weeks ago. And just before I started recording the video, I started to have some stomach pain, and then it was pretty mild. So I went down to my desk, got ready to record, and then the pain got really severe, and I had to go in the bathroom, and I was brought up on the floor because the pain got so bad. It was only a few minutes, but I can compare the pain to contractions during childbirth. That's how bad it was for me. It was just a few minutes, but I got hot, I got clammy, and at that time I contemplated going to the hospital, but I'm a nurse, so I don't run to the hospital often. I try and treat whatever it is at home, and it's worked for me most of the times. I can't remember the last time I went to the ER. Well, after I recorded the video, I went about my business, and later that day the pain came back, and I took some Motrin, and I sat on the floor, and my family was there at that time, and then they're like, you should go to the hospital. I'm like, no, I'll be okay. So I got up off the floor, went in my room and put the heating pad on and laid down, and then something's like, go to the hospital. And I had my mom take me to the hospital, and while we were waiting, the pain eased up a little, so I'm thinking, oh shoot, it's about to be a waste of time. But while we were waiting, the pain got more severe, and by the time we got to the back, the pain was even more severe. Once again, had me hot, balled up, and then during that time I started to throw up as well. So the doctors were saying that it could be several things. It could be diverticulitis, which I was kind of wondering. I was kind of thinking it could have been that. It could be a kidney stone, or it could be a cyst on my ovaries. Well, I had a hysterectomy a couple years ago, so I only have one ovary. So I'm thinking, okay, it could be a cyst, because I had some issues with my reproductive system, and that led me to a hysterectomy. They did some testing, a CAT scan, and found out it was a kidney stone on my left side, and that's where the pain was. It's my first experience with a kidney stone. It was very, very severe. So from that Sunday night, I stayed in the hospital. The Monday morning, they did the insertion of the kidney, of the stents in my kidney, so I had to go under general anesthesia and have the stents placed so that urine can continue to flow, because it had begun to back up into my left kidney, which was also causing some discomfort. Right after the insertion of the stents, after I woke up from anesthesia, they wheeled me straight from the operating room straight out to transportation to get picked up. Super weird to me, but that's what they did. So from that time on, I continued to throw up the next few days. I did not sleep very well, because I was between throwing up, I was having acid reflux, and it's just, if you ever had acid reflux, it bothers you most when you're in a lying position, and so it became uncomfortable to lay down. When I wasn't throwing up and trying to sleep, I couldn't. I did not rest well, and remind you, that's what that video was about. I did not rest well for a week. I went back and forth to the hospital. They kept sending me home, saying that it's nothing they could do. See my primary doctor. And I'm thinking, like, it's got to be something going on. I keep throwing up. I can't put anything down. My mother, and then one of the times I'm home, she brought me some soup. Like, you got to put something on your stomach. Okay, I take two spoonfuls of broth only. Brought that right back up. Went to the drugstore, got stuff because I'm thinking maybe I'm backed up, constipated. I did everything trying to relieve myself, no relief. And one of those nights, I ran me some bath water, and I was able to fall asleep in the tub, not in the long position, but I turned my back against the wall of the tub, and I was able to fall asleep that way. That's the only way I found some rest, was in that tub for a little while. And then I finally got up and got out and still couldn't lay down and rest because the acid reflux kept coming back and nothing was working. I finally was able to, my 4th time going to Henry Ford in Macomb. I got there drove myself that day, got to the back. It was pretty empty. I got to the back fairly quick, but before the doctor came in, my mother called me and she was like, I'm gonna take you to Beaumont. And I'm like, cool. So I walked out the back and just waited for my ride. I never saw a doctor. That was my 4th time at Henry Ford. And that was from Sunday to Thursday. That Thursday morning, she came and got me from Henry Ford Hospital and took me to Beaumont, Troy. They said it was 8 or 9 hour wait. So we drove to Beaumont Royal Oak. Within an hour, I was in the back and still throwing up. This is on the Thursday morning, still throwing up, couldn't keep nothing down. They admitted me on that Thursday. And so I stayed in the hospital from that Thursday to the following Monday. Threw up every day for a whole week. I threw up from Sunday to Sunday. That following Sunday was the last day that I threw up. I had a CAT scan. The crazy thing is that they try and give you stuff by mouth to stop you from throwing up. I don't understand whose idea that is and why they think that's so bright. But I had to do another CAT scan, and so I had to drink this contrast, and it was like 3 cupfuls, and I think I made it through 2. Went down, had my CAT scan. As soon as I got up, it all came back up, and that was on a Sunday. That was the last day that I threw up. So once again, my video was called Rest Well, but guess what I didn't do for an entire week? I was not able to rest. I was in and out of sleep, in and out the bathroom, throwing up, and I didn't rest well. What I learned from that is that whenever you're getting ready to do something for the Lord, put out a video, put out a message, and it's for the Lord, you have to say a prayer to rebuke any backlash the enemy may send against you. And I've heard different content creators pray before they do that, before they send their messages out there, pray against any backlash. And that's something I didn't do. And I'm like, wow, that very thing I was talking about and teaching about is that very thing he used to attack me. I couldn't rest for a whole week. I could not rest. I was sick, tired, and I was miserable. That was the best way I can explain it, was I was miserable. Throwing up, not able to sleep, acid reflux, feeling like I'm it was just horrible. And finally, once I got in the hospital, they started giving me fluids, still throwing up. I was on a clear liquid diet and I didn't eat anything. From that Thursday till the Monday I was discharged, the only thing I had was a cup of broth, a Jello, and some water outside of the contrast I had to drink. That's all I had for 4 days I was in the hospital. I didn't even have an appetite for the most part. But that Monday, during that time, I don't know if it was that Sunday or Monday, but I was talking to God, like, okay, whatever it is you need me to do, I'm gonna do it. I'm ready. Just protect me while I do this, while I get out here and do your work. Like, at that point, I was pretty aware that was an attack from the enemy about, for me sending out the message to rest well and just encouraging people in the Lord. And so I had that talk with God, like, whatever it is you need me to do, I'm gonna do it. It's me and you, I'm ready. Like, if this is what it's gonna be, this was what it's gonna be. Like, let's do it. And then that Monday, I didn't throw up. The CAT scan results were back. They didn't see no blockages. So ultimately, they had no way or no reason, no diagnosis to explain me throwing up for a week continuously. The doctor came in. He gave me my results, and we still talked about, I was still having the acid reflux, but out of everything that they gave me, nothing was still relieving that acid reflux. And then we went back to simple Maalox. So he was like, I'm gonna give you some Maalox. I was overall feeling better, but still just that acid reflux was just so uncomfortable. He's like, if you're ready to go home, you can go home. I'm gonna order this Maalox for you to have. Got that Maalox. It seemed like it put the fire in my throat out instantly. I said, cool, I'm ready to go. Within 30 minutes, my ride was there and I was out of that place. But that entire week was miserable. Point of that story is, always pray before you're getting ready to do something for the Lord. Rebuke any backlash or attacks sent by the enemy. Return to sender. 100-fold. And I've been doing that consistently with messages like what I've been posting in my Facebook group, Refurbished Souls. Also, go follow our group, Refurbished Souls, on Facebook. It is a blessing to anybody that's involved in it. And so before I post, I always say a prayer before I post anything in the group. And moving forward, I will make that a regular habit when I'm doing my content for the Lord. So during the time, by the time I got back home, the following Saturday, I was listening to Tiffany Montgomery, and she was doing a conference in Lagos, Nigeria, and I got a chance to catch it live. So one of the things she started speaking of was about forgiving. And she was saying how people that's harboring unforgiveness, you know, your body's all tore up, you wondering why you young and walking around here with a cane and da. And instantly I thought about a young lady I knew. She's in her probably mid-30s, but I know she's dealt with some health issues. She's had to have some hip replacements, and then recently she's going in for well, she's already had it. By the time you guys get this message, she's already had the surgery, but she had to have another surgery for some other issues. Hopefully one day she'd be willing to come on and share her journey with us. But instantly I thought about her, and I knew her surgery date was coming up, so I instantly texted her while the message was still playing. I said, whoever it is, no matter what they've done, you have to forgive them. I said, your healing depends on this, or something like that. And she texted me back and said, I know. She said, I was just thinking about that. Look at God. Like, I didn't know that was on her heart and on her mind. Like, we text and talk occasionally, talk on Facebook and stuff like that, but she had not shared that with me, that she had some unforgiveness. But God put that on my heart to reach out to her and let her know that. And I told her, before you go into surgery, you got to forgive whoever it is that you're still holding. And she kind of opened up to me about what was going on. And she decided that she was going to do that. She said, I don't know if it was that day or but she decided she was going to forgive those. It was more than one person. She was going to forgive them. And I gave her a song that we listened to while we were doing our forgiveness letter at the Matters of the Heart Summit, which is Kevin LaVar. I'll put the link in the description. But the song is so heart-touching to listen to, about forgiving and just having a heart of forgiveness like the Lord has for us. And it's so important to forgive people, because that unforgiveness will still have government over your life. You may not think it does, but I look at some of the things people post online and I'm like, they're bitter. And that bitterness is a result of them not forgiving somebody. But that unforgiveness will lead to depression, anxiety. It'll tear your stress. It tears your body up from the inside out. Literally, I know people who are just bitter and they're also ill physically. And that's because they are harboring unforgiveness. You want God to forgive you, you have to also forgive others. And a couple months ago, we were talking about forgiveness in the group, and somebody was just like, they were a stronghold. Like, I cannot do it. Like, I just can't do it. Forgiveness is a choice. It's not necessarily easy, and it don't have to be a long, drawn out process. It's a choice. You make a choice that this will no longer affect me. So this week, each day in the group, and then in my email subscribers, I sent them out messages about forgiveness. Monday, we talked about what forgiveness is not. Tuesday, we talked about what forgiveness is. Wednesday, I sent out some prayers that they can use to help them with forgiveness. Thursday, I discussed how it physically affects your body, and which people probably never correlated the two, how unforgiveness would affect your body. And then on Friday, I had a generic letter I typed and put out in the Facebook group, and then I also sent it out to the email subscribers, where it was like a template where all you had to do was insert your name. It was insert your name, insert the person's name, insert like being specific about what they did to you, and being specific about forgiving them, and also wishing them well and well wishes from God. You know, may God continue to bless you, no matter what they like. It's such a huge release being able to do that. It may not be easy, but it is a form of release. When we did that at the summit, I saw it was one young lady in particular, probably because she was sitting a little closer. She started to cry, like thinking about the things that she was holding on to. And it's unfortunate that some people have hurt us. Some was intentional and some was unintentional. but you can't control that. You can't control what they did, who they did it to, because even in talking to somebody yesterday, they were sharing how it was hard to forgive the person, and then they turned around and did something to someone else of the same nature. Well, unfortunately, you couldn't control that, and that topic was specifically talking about molestation, which we're going to talk about. I'm gonna do a whole summit on that. We're gonna do a whole teaching on that, because with molestation, there's a spirit behind it. And I'm gonna say this: the spirit behind molestation, it protects itself very well, meaning it silences the victims, and by silencing the victims, it's allowed to continue to run through these families rapid, and from generation to generation to generation. Just this week alone, I talked to 3 women, all I've known for some years, but they've opened up to me about being molested. One was molested by multiple people. Another was molested. Her and a sibling was molested, and then she shared the outcome of that. And then another one, she was saying how she couldn't forgive the person, and the person molested her as well as another family member. But that spirit of molestation is something interesting. We're gonna pray against it. We're gonna learn more about it so we can cast it out by name. We're gonna call it out by name and rebuke it, and we're gonna break that generational curse, because that spirit is generational, and it goes from generation to generation and generation, and it, like I said, it protects itself very well. But the message that I wanted to share today was about being forgiving, and don't harbor that unforgiveness. While I was sharing with the other young lady before she had her surgery, I was sharing with her about forgiveness. I realized it was someone in my life that I had some unforgiveness towards. So I went through the process. Well, I'm going through the process of forgiving them. And then lastly, I want to share with you what I did when I was in Cancun back in January. Every day I was able to get up and watch the sunrise. I went down to the beach early, did a little meditating, praying, and then one of those days I did some affirmations. I spoke some positive things about my life that I'm seeing come to pass, and then I did some forgiveness. It was someone I was I had some unforgiveness towards, and I was only able to realize that because I reflected on my interactions with this person and how there was resentment there. And they've never said that to me, but I just, during reflection, I realized that my interactions with this person, there was some resentment, and so I knew I needed to forgive this person, and that's what I did. I did a letter of forgiveness to them, and then I put it in the water and watched it wash away in the water. And I declared that day that issue would no longer affect my life. I forgave the person. It was not something I wanted to confront the person, have a discussion with the person about, but in my heart I forgave them, and I'm done with that issue of my life. And my interactions with that person from that day forth have been much better. My heart posture is much better towards that person. So I'm going to put some supporting scriptures in the description box about unforgiveness and forgiving. And just like you want God to forgive you, you have to be forgiving to others. There's multiple scriptures to back that up, and I'm going to put it in the description box. So I appreciate you taking time out to listen and support my channel. If you haven't done so, please please like and subscribe. I am trying to build this channel and hopefully move the audio from here to my podcast as well. Join our Facebook group, Refurbished Souls, or you can visit refurbishedSouls.org, my website, and you can subscribe to the email list, and you'll get daily reminders. I've been doing them so far, just started this week, but I've been doing the teaching about the forgiveness, and I sent out an email every day. So if you're subscribed to the email on refurbishedSouls.org, you'll receive the words of encouragement and the teaching exercises that we'll be doing, as well as any events I have coming up. So I appreciate your support. Subscribe. If this was something you could relate to, please make a comment, put a comment in the section, in the comment section about how this helped you or didn't. I appreciate all feedback and support. And I look forward to seeing you guys at our next summit. Bye-bye.